The whispering walls. The Olden Manor stood perched atop a desolate hill. It was a Victorian mansion, shrouded in an almost perpetual mist. Its stone facade was gray and weathered. The windows, like vacant eyes, stared out blankly. A palpable sense of dread emanated from the structure. It whispered of secrets best left undisturbed. Eleanor Vance, a young woman with haunted eyes, stood before the imposing structure. She was the last descendant of the Olden lineage. Eleanor had inherited the mansion upon her father's untimely demise. She felt drawn to the house, yet a shiver of apprehension ran down her spine. It was as though the house itself was watching her, judging her. A heavy, ornate door, crafted from darkened oak, marked the main entrance. As Eleanor pushed it open, the hinges groaned in protest. The sound echoed through the silent house, amplifying the sense of unease that had taken root in her heart. The air inside was heavy and cold, thick with the scent of decay and forgotten memories. Dust motes danced in the faint slivers of light that pierced through the grime-coated windows. Driven by a mixture of curiosity and trepidation, Eleanor stepped inside. The door closed behind her with a resounding thud. It was the sound of finality, sealing her fate within the cold embrace of Olden Manor. She found herself enveloped in an eerie silence. It was the kind of silence that seems to pulsate with unseen energy, pregnant with unspoken words. A sense of foreboding washed over her, whispering that she had just crossed a threshold into a realm of darkness. A family's burden. Eleanor wasn't alone in her arrival. Her distant cousin Arthur had reluctantly agreed to accompany her. Arthur, a pragmatic historian, scoffed at the stories surrounding the manor. He saw it as a crumbling relic of the past, not a place of actual danger. Yet even he couldn't entirely shake off the unsettling atmosphere. The house was oppressively silent, save for the occasional creak of the floorboards beneath their feet. They echoed through the empty halls like the whispers of ghosts. The shadows seemed to lengthen and twist as they walked, reaching out like grasping claws. A thick layer of dust covered everything, evidence of years of neglect. It was as though time itself had turned stagnant within the walls of Olden Manor. They explored the manor's dusty rooms, each one a testament to forgotten grandeur. Faded tapestries hung on the walls, depicting scenes of both revelry and despair. The furniture, once opulent and inviting, was now shrouded in dust covers, their shapes barely discernible. Each room seemed to carry the weight of the past, a suffocating reminder of the Olden family's long and troubled history. As the sun began to set, casting long, eerie shadows through the grimy windows, the silence of the manor seemed to deepen. The air grew heavy with a palpable sense of dread. It was as if the darkness itself was seeping into their very beings. Eleanor swore she could hear whispers carried on the wind, though when she turned to face them, there was nothing there. The diary's secrets. In the dusty attic, tucked away in a forgotten corner, they stumbled upon a weathered, leather-bound diary. Its pages, brittle with age, contained the scrawled handwriting of Eleanor's great-grandmother, Amelia Olden. Amelia's words painted a terrifying picture of life within the mansion's walls, a life plagued by strange occurrences and an overwhelming sense of dread. Amelia wrote of cold spots in warm rooms, of disembodied voices that whispered her name in the dead of night, and of fleeting shadows that seemed to vanish as quickly as they appeared. She described a feeling of being constantly watched, of an unseen presence that haunted her every move. Her words, filled with fear and desperation, spoke of a darkness that permeated every corner of the manor, a darkness that threatened to consume her. As Eleanor delved deeper into the diary's pages, a sense of unease settled over her. Amelia's words resonated with an unsettling familiarity. The experiences detailed in the diary mirrored the strange occurrences Eleanor had begun to experience herself. Suddenly, the manor's unsettling atmosphere felt less like a quirk of the old house and more like a threat. Eleanor read aloud, her voice trembling slightly. "The shadows in this house. They move. They whisper. They know my name." Arthur, ever the skeptic, dismissed Amelia's writings as the ramblings of a woman consumed by her own isolation. But Eleanor couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to her great-grandmother's words than met the eye. A chill ran down her spine, and for the first time, she felt truly afraid. As days turned into nights, the strange occurrences intensified. Footsteps echoed in the empty hallways, always seeming to approach but never quite reaching the room where Eleanor and Arthur slept. Doors creaked open and slammed shut on their own, as if moved by an unseen hand. The air grew thick with a palpable sense of dread, pressing down on them like a physical weight. One evening, while exploring the mansion's sprawling library, Eleanor felt a cold breath on her neck. She turned, expecting to find Arthur standing behind her, but there was no one there. Only the faint scent of damp earth lingered in the air, a scent that seemed strangely out of place in the dry, dusty library. Fear, cold and sharp, pierced through her. Sleep offered no escape from the growing terror. Nightmares plagued Eleanor's rest, filled with images from the diary and visions of a shadowy figure that seemed to beckon her deeper into the mansion's depths. Each morning she awoke feeling more drained than the last, her nerves frayed, her mind teetering on the edge of exhaustion. The mansion was weaving its dark magic around her, slowly but surely tightening its grip. Arthur, despite his initial skepticism, began to waver. He couldn't deny the unsettling events that unfolded around them. The rational part of his mind struggled to find a logical explanation, yet the evidence was undeniable. Something was amiss in Olden Manor, something sinister and ancient. They were intruders in a domain far older and more powerful than they could have imagined. The diary entries became more frantic, more desperate. Amelia's words revealed a horrifying truth. The Olden family was bound by a generations-old curse, a dark pact made with an unknown entity. It fed on the family's life force, demanding a sacrifice every generation to maintain its power. Amelia believed she was the next target. The diary's final entry was chilling in its despair. Amelia wrote of a shadowy figure that haunted her dreams, promising her release from the curse in exchange for a terrible price. She spoke of a ritual, a sacrifice that would appease the entity and break the curse's hold on her family, but the details of the ritual were lost, the page torn and stained, as if someone had tried to erase the terrible truth it contained. The revelation hung in the air between Eleanor and Arthur, heavy and suffocating. The curse, once a figment of imagination, became terrifyingly real. It was a tangible presence in the house, a malevolent force that had haunted the Olden family for generations, feeding on their fear and despair. The weight of the curse settled on Eleanor's shoulders, a crushing burden that threatened to break her spirit. Suddenly, the eerie occurrences in the house took on a new and terrifying meaning. The footsteps, the whispers, the shadows, they weren't just random events. They were signs of the curse's growing power, a warning that it was hungry and it was coming for its due. Fear, primal and instinctive, gripped Eleanor's heart. She was trapped in a nightmare, and the line between reality and the supernatural was blurring rapidly. As Eleanor read further, she found chilling similarities between Amelia's experiences and her own. The same cold spots, the same disembodied whispers, the same fleeting shadows. It was as if the curse was replaying its torment, using Eleanor as its new puppet. Memories, fragmented and disturbing, began to surface in Eleanor's mind. Visions of a shadowy figure, its features obscured by darkness, haunted her waking hours. Whispers followed her through the empty halls, their voices a chorus of despair and warning. She felt an icy hand grip her heart, squeezing tightly, threatening to extinguish the last embers of her sanity. One night, driven to the brink by terror and despair, Eleanor found herself drawn to the attic once more. The diary lay open on the dusty floor, its pages illuminated by a stray beam of moonlight. As she reached for it, the shadows in the room seemed to writhe and twist, taking on the menacing forms of grotesque creatures. A low growl reverberated through the attic, sending chills racing down her spine. The line between reality and nightmare blurred. The house, no longer a dwelling of wood and stone, transformed into a monstrous entity, hungry and alive. It pulsed around her, its energy suffocating, its presence overwhelming. Eleanor felt herself slipping, her grip on sanity weakening. The house, she realized with chilling certainty, was claiming her just as it had claimed Amelia and countless others before her.